was not with him. He was in a sense alone. So this is something that we need to keep in mind when looking at his psychological profile and the kind of person he grew up to be, quite lonely and tortured in many ways. As far as reservations are concerned, I mean, Ambedkar and Nehru, and they really worked as a team in many ways in that phase during the writing of the Constitution in the Constituent Assembly in the early years of independence. Although Ambedkar had a long-running conflict with Gandhi, by this time Gandhi was dead, and India was independent, and these two people were hands-on in the creation of this new republic, and they both envisaged reservations, affirmative action, various kinds of protections for what then came to be called scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and other kinds of minorities and women and so on, as essentially a temporary measure, right? That basically we have the principle of equal citizenship, right? India has been created from the get-go as a democracy. Everybody has the vote, right? In principle, we have formal equality, right? But to render that formal equality as substantive equality, that is to say, that theoretical framework into something actual and real, right? You had to bring everyone to a level playing field, right? You cannot say that communities which have had thousands of years of marginalization, of oppression, of violence, of not an equal opportunity, right, can suddenly one day get up and start competing, whether in education or in employment or in any other way, right? So there has been a political transformation of a humongous nature, right, which is the achievement of independence and the creation of democracy. But the social transformation has not occurred. It's still a very traditional, very conservative, very backward society, right? It's still driven by caste and religion. So how to bring the political and the social revolutions into alignment? This was the task. And for this, they had to take certain concrete measures and enshrine them in the law, right? That you have to protect the weak. You have to give an extra chance to those who have been historically subject to certain kinds of injustice, right? You cannot make it up overnight, right? But what they envisaged, what Ambedkar and Nehru and many others envisaged, was that over time, basically, those who had been left behind would come up, right? And society would become genuinely, substantively egalitarian. And then from there we all move forward into something different, right? But that time never came. That time has still not come, right? I mean, we continue to be a deeply unequal society. And we continue to suffer from historical injustices which some communities have always suffered from, right? And while there have been some improvements and some development, some growth, right, some forward movement, the degree to which the founding fathers expected that there would be a social transformation, that did not occur simply by the creation of or the promulgation of this constitution or this new set of laws. So along the way, as you know, in the late 70s, the Mandal Commission was appointed to look at what have been the effects of, at that time, 30 years of reservations. Has there been enough change? Do we need more reservations? Do we need to roll back reservations? Many governments did not want to act on the recommendations of the initial Mandal Commission. Only when VP Singh came to power around 1990, 89, 90, 91, he recommended that we act on and we update the recommendations of the Mandal Commission. And again, there was a huge resistance to that, as you remember, many of you know, from the anti-Mandal agitation. And it is only now, gradually over the last 25 years or so, that we've come to a point where reservations have been reconsidered, sometimes their scope has been expanded.